Okay, so today I'm going to explain to you the differences between wa and ga. Okay, so wa and ga can be very confusing once you get down to it. Suddenly things become much more difficult between simply 私は食べ物が好き or something like that, and it becomes more complicated between the difference between wa and o and all of that other stuff. So here I'm going to explain to you when to use them. And there's literally there's sometimes college courses actually offer, or colleges actually offer courses based solely on the difference between wa and ga. Not all the time, but I have heard of such a thing. And there's one of my friends who went to a French college, so the book's in French, I'm sorry, but if you know French, then hey, you can read it, that his teacher wrote her thesis, her graduation thesis, solely on the difference between wa and ga, and then she ended up teaching a class basically on the difference between wa and ga, which he took. The class was in French, so I'm sorry for you, unless you know how to speak French, then go for it. Maybe you can find it. Alright, so here I'm just going to give you just the basics, and there's a few, but it's pretty simple. I'm going to compare them for you. Okay, number one. Okay, you use wa as a subject marker, right? We already know that. However, if you're in a conversation, instead of writing nice little sentences in your workbook or something like that, if you're in a conversation, you're going to use ga as a subject marker as well. When you use when you use ga as a subject marker is when you're introducing a new subject. Okay, so when you're using ga as a subject marker, you're gonna say like this. We'll give an English equivalent, but don't take this too much to heart. Okay, so we'll say, how about these two objects right here? Okay, this is a glasses case, and these are glasses. Okay, no duh. Alright, so let's say you're talking about them. We should say, this object is black, this object is soft in the inside, this object can open, and this object can close. As for this object, it is black and purple. Do you see what I did? So basically you say, basically what you're doing with ga as a subject marker is when you introduce a new object, or as in a new subject to something that you're talking about, you use ga instead of wa, because you were talking about this, and it was understood that you were talking about this, and then suddenly you changed it to this. So when you changed it, you say, as for this object, right? Okay, so basically that's what ga does as a subject marker. Okay, next, okay, then again, as another subject marker, another way it's used is for question words. For example, in English they would be who, what, when, where, and yeah, who, what, when, where, why, something like that, and how. So those are our question words, and they have the same question words too. So when you're asking someone a question, like 誰が行きました? You say 誰が行きました because it's a question word. Instead of saying 誰は, you say 誰が. If you're the one who asked that, in response you will hear リサが行きました. Okay? Because it's using the same thing. As opposed to saying simply リサは行きました. as like a whole other sentence. It's not not in response to a question. But if you're asking something with a question word, you are gonna say na 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 ga verb. Okay, is more emphasis. Okay, for sure you can definitely say let's say 私は嬉しい. Okay. But let's say you want to say, my neighbor plays the piano. Alright, so you say, 隣の人はピアノを弾きます. Okay? 隣の人はピアノを弾きます. So, my next door neighbor plays the piano. But I said wa. When I say wa, it simply is, my next door neighbor plays the piano. Now, I'll say ga. 隣の人がピアノを弾きます. Okay? When I say this, when I say ga, it means my next door neighbor is the one who plays the piano. He is the one. He is more specific. It's like saying, it's the difference between the articles a and the. So, and it's the difference between being more general and more specific. So if you want to emphasize something, then that's when you would use ga. Okay. Last one. The last one, this has to do with, let's say you have two subjects in the sentence. How about, リサは猫が鳥を食べることを見ました. Okay, so that sentence is a little bit difficult, maybe especially if you're a beginner. I apologize if it wasn't grammatically perfect. I'm sorry, but it's just sort of an example of when you would use ga instead of wa. You won't use wa twice. Basically, that's the rule. You will very rarely, very seldom use wa twice. If there's two nouns that appear to be the subject of the sentence, the first noun will be wa, and the second noun will always be ga. And if you have a third noun, then that one will also be ga. Ga goes on forever, but wa has a limit. Alright. So, yep, basically that's it. Also, another thing to remember is that some verbs simply require ga instead of o. So you have to remember that those are special verbs. Just keep that in mind, that they are special verbs. And just, if you have a good book, your book will tell you that these verbs are special and you should not use o, you should use ga. If your book does not tell you that, get another book. I'm assuming that many of you that are watching my videos are studying Japanese on your own and you don't have a class as a resource like I did to study Japanese. I'll answer another question really quickly on the side because of that. If you are studying and thinking about picking up a book, I highly suggest you pick up Genki. Don't waste your money on anything that is more than 30 bucks. It's a scam. Genki will teach you just as easily and just as correctly as the book that costs $100. So get the Genki textbook. It's 30 bucks. Their workbook is like 15 bucks. And it comes with a CD audio already. And if you're doing it by yourself, I suggest you get the teacher's manual, which will probably be another 15 bucks. Altogether, $60. Great value. So I highly suggest that you get Genki. Don't waste your money on Rosetta Stone. Just don't do it. $500 to learn a new language? I mean, that's why you go to college. If you're not going to college and you're teaching yourself, don't do it. They're not your professor. You can't ask Rosetta Stone a question. That's why you pay money for college, so you can go to a classroom and have interactive experience with your teacher. But you can't do that with Rosetta Stone, so don't spend $500 on the program. Just don't do it. Okay, so yes, as always, if you have questions about this video or any other topic pertaining to Japanese and Japanese culture, feel free to email me on YouTube and I will answer you ASAP, and I will get to you. I'm usually pretty good at responding. So yeah, just keep them coming, and hopefully by the next time I do a video I will have HD camera. Yay! Be happy. Okay, so see you later. じゃあね。さよなら. And bye bye.